So Dan, I'm already just hearing the last few minutes of you share about Dharma and this idea of, you know, creating yourself and listening to what's there for you and creating yourself intentionally in every moment, including your, I mean, I hate to use the word career path, but there it is.
It is.
But
It
just
is for sure.
yeah, how that goes. So thank you. Like I'm just feeling really great and grounded right now being with you. And so what we're going to do in the second half is we're going to get grounded again, and Dan is going to lead for us. I want to say his version of belly breathing and really unpack it, which I think will be so amazing. And that's kind of building on just that quick drop in breath we did at the beginning of the podcast, and he's going to expand on it. And then we're going to get to hear more about mind tribes and how we can be a part of the community. So Dan, share with us, get us into some good belly breathing.
Of course. I love you said the word earlier. What I want to do is unpack some of the similarities between how you opened the podcast, and I'll also include a little bit of explanation, but I want to get into the practice first. So close your eyes, and without trying to analyze or, you know, explain anything, just notice how the breath moves. Notice how when you inhale, it tends to expand the side ribs, the back ribs, maybe even the skin behind the heart. And as you exhale, there may be a sensation of feeling earth or ground or connection. And you have the spaces in between the inhale and the exhale. And there's an Ayurvedic practitioner in Houston, her name is Sunita. And I love something that she said is that healing happens in between those two spaces. So as you're here, you can take two fingers, or you can just use your awareness and place the fingers on the space between the eyebrows, where the arches of the eyebrows meet. And if you're watching the video and you need to open your eyes and see, I just have my hand here. And this is to bring some awareness to the front of the face. And then move that space down to your heart. Place your hand on your heart. You can feel as the breath moves into the rib cage and into the lungs, you can feel how literally it expands your hand. It moves your hand. And on an exhale, slide your hand down to your belly around the position of your bladder. So it's just a few inches below the belly button. And this is the tool that really made the difference for me, was being able to shift my attention vis-a-vis my breath from being up in my head and maybe in my heart down to a few inches below the navel. And the specific cue that made the difference for me was on your inhale, distend the belly button away from the spine. And as you exhale, rather than pulling in, just feel the natural drawing back in of the belly button toward the spine. So take a couple more breaths like this. Every time you breathe in, feel the belly button distend. Well, the exhale be natural. And take one more deep breath in. Maybe even sigh the exhale out. And then lower the chin down, lower the eyes down. You can flutter the eyes open, look at your hands, look at your belly. Take one more breath in here. And exhale out and lift your head, open your eyes. So, you know, there's this term, there's this term of being hot-headed.
Never experienced that, Dan.
Right? I'm never like that, especially in conversations with my wife, the difficult ones where, you know, I'm being a jerk.
Wait, you're human? Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend who he's doing coaching with me, and he's like, I'm doing coaching with you because you're this type of person for me. And I was like, thank you. And just so you know, I'm also this type of person. Like I'm with you. And he was like, really? Really? I was like, yeah. Yeah. I think that's whether you have a yoga teacher or a coach or someone who's facilitating and leading, it just makes so much more sense when you're like, oh, you do experience those things that I experience. I'm not alone. Yeah.
Right, right. And I know I've, some friends who think, life with me and my 3 kids and 2 dogs and 1 cat and a partridge in a pear tree, like that it's always like we're walking on clouds and like the kids are singing, I am amazing. And no, H no, like, but the
Yeah.
difference is now as I like go to like, and actually the other day, my son Cole said something to me and the fire of anger went through my body, and I said something, and what he triggered was the voice in my head that says I'm stupid, and I
Mm-hmm.
said something just horrid to him, and then but I heard it, and I was like, you have the heat of anger, you just reacted, clean it up. I apologized. The heat of anger was still there, and I said, I gotta go breathe. So I think part of what can happen with this work is, yes, those of us who practice this, we aren't walking on clouds. We do get angry. And part of the gift of having all these tools in your toolbox is there's the opportunity to catch it, to
Mm-hmm.
notice, be aware of the anger and catch it. And I'm guessing, Dan, when things get heated with you and Christina, that you guys are catching it. Yeah.
Not always.
Right.
We definitely have the capacity, and it's, sometimes like, it's drawn out over a longer period of time. And I believe to really be a part of this work, that I keep saying the word work, it's a commitment to developing yourself and being better every day, and being more of a contribution to other people. And what this is a very common theme that I actually work with when I'm doing results-based coaching with people. I like to call it mindful performance coaching, because what it is you can catch. So let's say there's a frame, a time frame of, here's my reaction. Like you said, your son or your daughter says something, and then all this heat comes up, and then things are said and thoughts are thought. All of that happens, all the mess, the muck. And then what I train and develop people on inside of my coaching is to be able to recognize it. And that's why I offered the tool, which is, if I'm coaching someone and they're not breathing with that deep belly breath, what I'm going to say next and what they're going to say next isn't going to matter, because we're really not listening. And I think of it in terms of my background's in education. And whenever you're dealing with a child who's having a reaction, I mean, we're just big children also. So little child, quote unquote, old child, whenever they have the reaction, I was always really intent on, can you take a couple breaths right now? And any time they were able to take those few breaths, then I'd start the conversation. And sometimes I wouldn't start it. But when I'm working with that individual coaching client, what I'll do is we'll start to we'll identify when the reaction happened, were they present to it, and then how much time in between have you been living in that disempowering context. For some people, it's like a full week since the last conversation, and they realize they've been living with this disempowering context for a full week. It's like, how's that? Like, how was that?
Being mad and grumpy and
yeah,
and feeling yucky, tired.
And a lot of that's even it's sub or unconscious. So we don't realize that something over here isn't working, seemingly unrelated to this thing that happened with a conversation with a loved one. But then when you identify it, you're like, that's actually been like right up in your face the whole time. So any other conversations that you have, you can't really be clear and fully a part of those conversations in a way that matters. So what I try to do as a coach is I have them, through my work with them, identify when it happened. And if they can't on their own, if they can't get out of it, it's really challenging sometimes to get out of it by yourself. So they can create it in language with themselves, like, I'm going to clear this, who I'm being, all this different language. But if they can't get out of it, their kind of mandate is give me a call. And it's usually about a 5 to 15 minute call. And then they're like, oh, clear, back in the game of their life, and they're effective again. It's just, it's really simple, but it's like something you alluded to earlier, which is it's simple. And then the work is challenging.
And ongoing, right? And
Yep.
like even this voice in my head that says like I'm, am I good enough, right? What I've learned also recently is like, and I call that my Voldemort. So if anybody's a Harry Potter fan, and right, and it shows up. And some days it's really chatty, and on those days I'm like, all right, Voldy, come have some tea and sit down because I got work to do.
Yep.
But all this to say, what I've recently learned, and even the other night with my son, I went and laid down and I was breathing, and what hit me, Dan, was like that like voice, that whatever that is, that Voldemort, it's not going to go away. Like whatever, it's going to pop up from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And what I get to do now is be like, it's like an unexpected house guest, right? So it knocks on the door and it's like, well, I'm just like, all right, you can come in, but you got to like behave, right? Because when I resist, like, what you resist persists.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the gift, all they say, the gift of that was to become aware that when it shows up, I'm the one that has to choose what my reaction is going to be. And when I can press pause and do some breathing, that gives me the space to cultivate and curate my response. And sometimes you're right. Sometimes it's a few minutes. And even when I came back out about 10 minutes later, I was still noticing the heat of anger. And what was there for me to notice it and be with it and come back out and be like on the court with my son was, I am not going to let Voldemort keep me from my son and from talking to him about what I'm experiencing and how much I love him. And that what happened wasn't about him, it was about me. And it's taken something to do that. But because before I would have like hung out in my room like all night and just been pissed and grumpy and then mean and like, blah. And that's okay too, right? Sometimes we need to experience, we're just mad. We just want to be mad for a few minutes. But for me, it was Voldemort's not taking me away from my kids right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's similar to some of the language that I picked up around distinguishing between self and not self. So, when someone's speaking, coaching is interesting because you're a mirror, it's a reflection. You're basically sitting in front of yourself. And when you see someone's having a reaction or they say something, it really helps sometimes to ask them the question, is that you speaking or is that something else? When I say you, it's not like there's like a demon or anything like that. It's this world of Atman so we're a yoga inspired coaching company, and we use some of the underpinnings of the principles and the philosophy of yoga. So Atman is like the who I am, the M that I am. It is my essence. And when I dial into that, my essence is joy and love and connection. This is my belief. And it's really helpful. You use the language or the verbiage of welcoming that like Voldemort, welcoming that voice in or welcoming that experience in. And I think that's really important because I recently read a book by, I'm not sure if you've heard of Gabor Mate. Just love his, well, I love his work. And one of the threads of this book that's, the thread is that when we repress, that those emotions, those sensations, those different like emotional impacts can go inward. And they're looking for some research basis of, is that the reason for some of the prominence of autoimmune diseases? The book's called When the Body Says No. And I love in this, I even connect it back to Dharma, is when you can say, this is just who I'm being right now. and you welcome that in and you acknowledge like, whoa, I just reacted, and hey, I want to own that, or I apologize, or, you know, I catch myself. It's a really healthy practice. It allows us to live and connect with people in a way that matters. And that's really why, if I go back to my intention behind sharing the tool of like distending the belly, deep belly breath, there's an example in that book of, I forget the condition, but it's this condition that has the whole spine fuse. This is in the book that I'm referring to. So he talks about meeting a gentleman who, I think he was a lawyer or something, and he went into his office, and he has this condition where the spine literally fuses, and then the rib cage fuses. So he said, in the past, I used to be, you know, hot-headed when I would react. And he's like, my condition now, literally, I can't inhale, so I can't get up in my chest and be, you know, when you get, you're in a reaction, you get emotional, everything goes up to your throat and your chest, and all that starts pulsating. He says, I can't do that anymore. I literally have to breathe from my diaphragm and below. So I don't have the ability. Now it's a very unfortunate condition. I'm not saying it's like a thing anyone would want. Yet at the same time, he said, I don't have the ability to be angry like I was angry before.
Fascinating.
Isn't it? Like,
yes.
And just getting, okay, we don't have to wait for our spine and our rib cage to fuse.
Thank goodness.
And it speaks to the intentionality that comes with directing your attention and your breath.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dan, I love what you're up to. And again, for people listening and watching, the show notes will have ways to get a hold of Dan and Mind Tribes and learn more specifically about the coaching and how to be, you know, have Dan as your coach. And Dan, are there some programs you have ongoingly, you know, for people like nationwide, internationally? I know that you do, so obviously I'm punning it to something. Right? Let's just call it out here. Sure. Talk to us about what you have going on where we can drop in and tap in and be with you.
Yeah, of course. So we don't have a one location. Our work is primarily virtual. Now we do have live programs. So we've intentionally built this curriculum programs that have entry points for different people depending on what your interests are. So if I just move through it in a linear fashion, I think it helps. We have our Asana Deep Dive program. And this is where, so if you're a listener right now and you're a studio owner or you have a space and you'd like to have us come in and partner with you, it's a 3-day program. It's a Friday evening, a full day Saturday, and then on Sunday. So these are workshops that we do. And then on Sunday, we do a big community class where we put all the tools through movement, through asana into play. So we have one coming up in Houston with Yoga Works, but we have them all over the country. So we have a good following in California, in Pennsylvania. We're looking at Seattle, in Washington is another option. So the best thing is, like you said, we'll share all the ways to connect through the show notes. And the website has all that information, the latest updated information. So that's Asana Deep Dive. And then we have our 200-hour teacher training, and we're looking at in 2020 doing our 300. We will be launching our 300-hour teacher training for those who are listening. And
I want that.
Those, yeah.
Sorry.
So, and we have some, like we're in conversations with some other facilitators around the country that we love and respect, and are welcoming them in to have this be really a unique type of teacher training. And really those two programs work together. So we recommend, if someone's like, I think I want to do your 200-hour training, I just would like to get a better sense of what you do, we really encourage them to come to the Asana Deep Dive. That way, teacher training is a financial investment. So we say, try it out. If it's of interest, what we actually do is if someone's I'm a yes, we build that cost into their teacher training. So it's just like a little addition, a little thank you. And then the other program that we have is our online coaching program. And there's actually, I can go on forever, as you know, but there's two main listings of who is it that takes this program. First of all, it's anyone who is out to deliver on a wildly important goal. That could be something business related or not. Could be, we've had people come in and go like, I'm going after relationships. I'm going to like go on as many dates as I can. And I have some certain goals in that area. And the other group of people this is something that's a little bit newer for us. And it's been something that I personally really love, is we work with businesses. So we work with yoga studios. We work with different coaching companies, but it's not bound to those arenas. And what we do is it's the same program. We have a team of people come into the program, and we've even used this to launch our asana deep dives around the country. So they come in and they work as a team, and they get individual coaching. They do the content, the program, but they get individual coaching from either me or Christina or one of our core leaders to deliver on anything ranging from your company's core values, your wildly important goals, or maybe it's a program. Like we had a group that just came in, one of the friends from Pennsylvania, and their goal was to write their curriculum for their 200-hour teacher training and make their application, which they did. So now they're like moving in the path of launching their own in-house teacher training. It's a donation-based studio. And it's just like the people that you meet, even as a participant, we do group sessions on Zoom. The people that you meet are people that will be in your life and they'll be your fellow co-creators in life forever. So those are our 3 core programs. We do workshops, we do some other things. I won't say too much about those because those are also on our website. And then the other thing is, this is a unique one. It's a teacher training that we're doing in Mexico, hopefully annually, but this year we're doing it in Troncones in Ixtapa. And that's 17 days. It's a little bit of a different format. And, it's in Mexico. It's beach, present moment retreat. We're partnering with them. And I don't know if there's anything that you had of interest or that you've seen that you think would make a difference for your people, but those are the main steps.
Yeah, that's, and I've seen, I've known you now for a handful of years, you and Christina. And so I've seen, as you even were talking about in the first half, the different offerings you've created as it's come to you, that this is how I express who I am in the world. Now, this is how and this and this. And one of the things I love about the path, kind of this landing that you're on right now, is it's so accessible to so many different people in so many different places. And and I know that takes also a lot of generating and work and just really being out there for people. So I thank you and Christina for that. And look, so you all, I know you are going to want to jump in and see what Dan and Christina are up to with Mind Tribes. Check out the show notes to find out every which way you can find them and connect with them. And Dan, this has been such a pleasure to be with you and have you on this program. And I would love if you would come back another time and share with us more. Maybe we'll have you and Christina on together and share with us more about.
Fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. And just share with us and take us down your next Dharma path or paths.
I'm in.
Awesome.
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely. This has been awesome. Every time, what I want to say before we close is every time I have a conversation with you, it feels brand new. Like, I know I may have said that earlier, but it's just something I'm so present to is, doesn't ever feel like we're talking about the past. It's like we're so present and looking to the future. And I want to be in those conversations all day. So I'm in.
Let's do it. All right. Well, for those of you listening and watching, stay in the present, generate the future with us. Thanks for listening. Be sure to share with your friends, and we will see you next time. Have an amazing day.